I'm being joined by the Foreign Minister of Republic of China, Taiwan, Dr. Joseph Wu. Many thanks for joining us here on India Today, Dr. Wu.
Hi, this is Joseph Wu, Minister of Foreign Affairs from Taiwan. I'm very glad to be on the show.
Dr. Wu, the fact that you're speaking first to an Indian news channel and it is India Today, so we are honored. We welcome you here on India Today. Also, our felicitations and wishes on the Taiwan National Day, the 109th Taiwan National Day that was celebrated on the 10th of October. But let me begin with an interesting area that was covered here in India that has to do with how India and Indians celebrated Taiwan National Day, which was not taken very well by China. The Chinese embassy over here, Chinese administration, has tried to bully not just India, but any country that wanted to celebrate and participate in Taiwan National Day. How do you really see and perceive this entire aggression that we see from the Chinese side when it comes to Taiwan? And what are your expectations from the Indian administration, the Indian government?
This is a situation that we have been facing for decades. But in the last few years, the situation has been getting more serious than ever. The Chinese are using their economic clout and also their political power to pressure other countries to do otherwise things that will be very normal for other countries. And in this particular case that you mentioned, the Chinese seems to be threatening the Indian press not to report about Taiwan's National Day. But India, to us, it's just a big democracy, perhaps the biggest democracy in the whole world, with vibrant press and freedom-loving people. And pressing Indians or Indian press not to report about Taiwan's National Day is against our value. And we are very happy to see that the Indian press and the Indian friends disregard the Chinese pressure, and they celebrated our National Day with us. The fact is that Taiwan is a democracy, and Taiwan shares the same value as Indians, and we are very glad that the Indians are celebrating our National Day with us.
Well, Dr. Wu, the fact that India is an important partner of Taiwan. Now, what are your expectations from the Indian government, given that the two countries share a very important relationship that goes not just beyond partnership, but also in recognizing Taiwan? What is your expectation from the government of India in recognizing Taiwan not just as a partner, but as a nation as well?
Thank you very much for raising that question. To us, it is very important for us to improve relations with India. It is a country that shares the same value with Taiwan. And it is also a country that has a very rich traditional culture. And it is also a country that is so rich with its potential. So for Taiwan to develop closer ties with India is very important. And we have the ambition to improve our relations with India. In areas such as economy or economic relations, we certainly hope that Taiwanese investment can go further in making investment in India. So far, we have 2.3 billion US dollars investment in India that employed about 65,000 people in India. And it is on the rapid rising right now. And we certainly hope that the trend can continue. And another area that we think it is very important for us to think right now is the supply chain. Taiwan and India are mutually complementary for each other. And for Taiwan and India to think along the line of supply chain, it's going to be very important for Taiwan, and I'm sure it's going to be in interest of your country as well. And we have full intention in working in that regard. In other areas, such as health cooperation, it is also very important. During this whole period of COVID-19, we realized that relying on one certain country for medical supply is a national security problem. And if we need to overcome that problem, that means that like-minded countries need to work closer with each other. Supply chain in the hands of friends or allies is in line with national security. So we would like to work together with India as well. More importantly, for Taiwan and India to work on international stage can also be very important. We have been excluded in many international fora, but Taiwan has full potential in making contributions in international society. We certainly hope that Taiwan and India can work further with each other so that we together can make contributions to international society. And we certainly hope that the Indian government can look at Taiwan with more seriousness, and the two sides can work further with each other.
Right, Dr. Wu, you make a very important point when it comes to supply chains. I will come back to that a little later, but staying on the issue of Taiwan and Taiwan's own resilience beyond supply chains, beyond healthcare. We've seen how wonderfully Taiwan has performed when it comes to containing and tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. Having said that, on the National Day, President Tsai Ing-wen has very clearly spelled out Taiwan's own agenda and how Taiwan wants to take forth her national interests, her territorial interests. Now, Taiwan is not the only country, although the world has woken up to how Taiwan has been suffering at the hands of China. But Taiwan is not the only country. India and Taiwan both have been at the receiving end of Chinese aggression. How then do you think both countries should come together to tackle and contain China's illegal claims?
I think this is a very important issue for us to deal with. If you look at the situation in this part of the world, Taiwan is not the only country that is facing problems in this regard. Look at East China Sea. I'm sure Japan also has plenty of problems in dealing with China. The disputed water has been not invaded, but being intruded repeatedly in the last few months. And in the South China Sea, I'm sure the countries surrounding South China Sea have also been seeing the same problem. And we also noticed the dispute along the India-China border. And therefore, you can see that we are facing the same issue. And that issue is the expansionism of authoritarian Chinese Communist Party. And we have to think about a way for democracies, for like-minded countries to work further together. We have traditional good relations with the United States, with Japan, and we want to develop closer ties with India as well. In order for Taiwan and India to work with each other in that regard, I think we need to start by thinking on how to exchange views or intelligence with each other on the situation that we face, and try to explore the possible areas of cooperation. And we in Taiwan have the full intention in working together with India, even though this is not a military alliance type of relationship. But I think for like-minded countries to work together in exchanging views with each other, to understand about each other, is going to be very important. And it's important for Taiwan, and I'm sure it's going to be important for India as well.
Well, Dr. Wu, you make a very important point, but again, Taiwan has been treated unfairly. We saw that more so now than ever before during the pandemic. The fact that Taiwan has done so much and so much better than many other countries, but in terms of best practices, we hardly saw the WHO really approach Taiwan to learn from Taiwan in how to handle and tackle the crisis. Having said that, is it time? You talk about countries coming together. You talk about like-minded nations coming together. The United States of America has come forth to support Taiwan in its struggle and in its entire approach to having its territorial integrity intact. Having said that, the United Nations is yet to recognize Taiwan. Do you think it is time that the United Nations comes out and recognizes Taiwan as a nation that it was a part of in the earlier days, and now it is time that Taiwan is brought back to the UN fold, even though we know that there is a veto-yielding China that could stop that move?
I would say that it is time for the international community and the international organizations to consider seriously the existence of Taiwan, and to think seriously on how to incorporate Taiwan into the international organizations. Anyone who has any experience with Taiwan We have 23 million people, even though it's much smaller than India, but at least it's a mid-sized country. And Taiwan is a democracy. We have a democratic government that is publicly and democratically elected by the people here in Taiwan. And we also have a vibrant press. Freedom of speech has been observed by the government. And therefore, for the international community to understand that Taiwan is in existence outside China, it's going to be very important. Many countries think that there's a one China policy, that China represents Taiwan, but that is not true. Historically, beginning from 1949, Taiwan has not been any part of China. And that is beginning from the day that the People's Republic of China is established. The two sides have been separated. And therefore, China cannot represent Taiwan internationally. And only the democratically elected government in Taiwan can lawfully represent the Taiwanese people. And Taiwanese people have the same right as the right of any other country to be represented in international organizations, in the UN or UN-affiliated organizations. And we are not just trying to pursue our participation in international organizations such as UN or WHO. What we want to do is to be able to make contributions to international society. We have been working together with some other democratic countries in making Taiwan's contribution. And we are a country that is well experienced in dealing with public health issues. And therefore, during the pandemic, we have been providing assistance to many other countries in terms of relief material or other type of assistance. We even have a video conference with some Indian hospitals, working together with them to build up the safeguard to combat COVID-19. And therefore, for Taiwan to be able to participate in international organizations such as WHO is not only working in the benefit of Taiwan people, but also working in the benefit for other countries. And excluding Taiwan is not in the interest of Taiwan, and it's not in the interest of international society. Taiwan, as I said, has been threatened by China for years. And Taiwan happens to be on the front line of the Chinese expansionism. Taiwan is a democracy, and we want to fight for our existence, and we want to be prevail so that democracy around the world can prevail.
Well, Dr. Wu, now the Chinese embassy here, the Chinese foreign ministry in Beijing have reacted to all the statements that come from Taiwan, to have reacted to the position taken by Taiwan, and have reacted to all the support that has come for Taiwan in only 2 or 3 very specific positions and statements. That is, Taiwan is a red line, nobody should cross it. Independence of Taiwan is wishful thinking, is what they say. Your response, sir?
Well, Taiwan, as I said, is in existence outside China, and China does not have any jurisdiction over Taiwan. The People's Republic of China has not for a single day has set its foot in Taiwan to run over Taiwan. And therefore, for the Chinese government to say that all other countries should not have any relations with Taiwan is simply wrong. The Chinese have the ambition of incorporating Taiwan. They have stated publicly and repeatedly, and they want to take Taiwan over peacefully if possible and use force if necessary. And that is the kinds of attitude against the Charter of the UN. And I think the international community needs to look at this more seriously. And in order for Taiwan to be able to safeguard itself, we need more international community members to work together with Taiwan. And we want to be working with India so that Taiwan-Indian relations can be stronger, to make sure that the Chinese don't resort to the use of force against Taiwan. And for the Chinese to declare that this is a red line, that certain governments cannot have any kind of relations with Taiwan is simply wrong. We do business with India, we do business with the United States, with Japan, and etc. And that business has been doing very well, working in the mutual benefit of our relations with other countries. And based on that, I think we need to have more relations with other countries, and other countries need to have more relations with Taiwan. And that is working in the interest of the international community as a whole.
Well, Dr. Wu, you spelled out the need for alternatives to the supply chains, the global supply chains that exist. Now, in that, a lot of countries have come forward and said we need an alternative to China. China cannot be a major part of the global supply chain that can cause instability if it's removed out of the equation. Having said that, in the supply chain resilience that everybody is talking about, how can Taiwan and the other countries come together to create that supply chain? We do know that Taiwan plays a very important role, is also a manufacturing hub, and is very critical too, and is a part of the supply chain already. But how can you play a bigger and a more important role? And how can other countries then not just talk about supply chain resilience, but also be a part of that supply chain resilience, including India?
I think this is a very important issue, and the international community comes to realization that the supply chain is a very serious matter for us to look at. If a critical part of the supply chain is in the hands of a country that has ambition to dominate the international community, that might not be in our national interest. And I think the same situation can apply to many other countries. And we have been discussing with other countries on this issue. Taiwan is a international hub for semiconductor and for other ICT manufacturing. And India is also a country that is big and getting bigger in software and the hardware production. And therefore, for Taiwan and India and other like-minded countries to discuss with each other so that our supply chain can be in line with each other, can be in our mutual interest. Let me just give you one example. TSMC is a global leader in the semiconductor, and they have some investment in China. But now they also come to the realization that they need to think about making investment in the United States. And I think it's going to be on that line that the international supply chain needs to be realigned so that we understand that the supply chain is not in the hands of a hostile country. After the trade war, or after the beginning of the trade war, and also the pandemic, and also the flooding in China just a while ago, there are many more Taiwanese who want to migrate out of China. Some of them are coming back to Taiwan. They make reinvestment in Taiwan for about 35 billion US dollars in the last year or so. And many of them are also thinking about migrating to other countries. And India happens to be one very prominent area that they can think about. And this is something that is being encouraged by the Taiwanese government. So in this case, Taiwan and India can really think about how we can work further with each other. And I need to commend that the Indian government has been taking a very courageous move to ban some of the softwares, especially those softwares on cell phone. For the short term, it can be painful, but in the long run, I think it's in your national interest. And in order for these kinds of softwares to be in the hands of partners that are in line with each other, I think we can discuss with each other on how we can cooperate so that it works in the benefit of India and Taiwan.
Dr. Wu, militarily, how can Taiwan contain Chinese aggression in the South China Sea?
South China Sea is one area that we have been looking at very seriously as well. People are saying that Taiwan Strait is the potential flashpoint, and we agree to that because the Chinese are threatening us day in and day out with their military hardware. And another area that I would describe as a potential flashpoint is the South China Sea. The Chinese military vessels and also their military airplanes have been patrolling around the disputed waters on the daily basis as well. And they have been expanding their sphere of influence in the South China Sea. And that puts other countries surrounding South China Sea, including Vietnam, the Philippines, and Indonesia, and also Malaysia, in a difficult position. And for the international community, especially those countries surrounding the South China Sea, what we need to look at is that all disputes needs to be resolved peacefully through international law, especially the UN Convention on the Law of Sea. And that happens to be our position as well. And other than that, since we also claim parts of the South China Sea, and therefore it is very important for Taiwan to be taken in as part of that multilateral mechanism in dealing with the territorial dispute resolution. And for the international community, it is also very important for the members in the region to uphold the rights of overflight and freedom of navigation. So this is a very important, and Taiwan will work with international community to make sure that the international law is observed in the South China Sea.
You're talking about multilateral mechanisms. So my final question to you, Dr. Wu, is how important is it for groupings like Quad to become a military success? And should there be expansion of the Quad, which is what is being proposed by the United States of America and is being looked at by other 3 countries as well? Should that be a proposal? Will Taiwan be a part of an expanded Quad?
I think Quad is very important, and we're watching very closely on the development of this quadrilateral cooperation. Just a few days ago, the foreign ministers of Quad met in Tokyo, and they worked with each other on how to enhance the cooperation. Even though China is not the only issue that all these 4 countries are discussing about, there are so many international issues that the Quad can come together in working with each other for the security issues or for other issues. And we are very happy to see that the like-minded countries, the major countries in the Indo-Pacific, are being working with each other to deal with the common threat in this region. And for Taiwan, we have been watching very carefully, and we have traditional very good relations with the United States and Japan, and we also enjoy very good relations with Australia, and our relations with India is getting better and better. And therefore, we certainly hope that Taiwan can start thinking about how we can work with all these countries that are taking part in the Quad discussions. Even though it might still be very difficult for Taiwan to take part in the Quad Plus discussions in a formal way. But we have taken part in the Quad Plus in a think tank forum, in a second track forum before. We think this is going to be very useful for Taiwan, and we certainly like to make contributions to this formulation of looking at the problems or issues in this area for Taiwan to make contribution. After the United States has that strategy of Indo-Pacific, free and open Indo-Pacific, we have been working together with the United States in a very close way. And the way the United States describe about Taiwan is that Taiwan is a democratic success story, a reliable partner, and a force for good in the world. And we have been working together with the United States to make sure that the region can benefit from Taiwan's contribution. And Taiwan will be very happy not only to work together with the United States, but also with other members of the community in the Indo-Pacific to make sure that the area can benefit from Taiwan's assistance or benefit from Taiwan's willingness to make contributions. We are able to show to the region that Taiwan is a model of democracy, and we can share the values with other countries that are still living under authoritarianism. And we are very willing to make contributions in the area of security, and it's not only the hard security, but also the non-traditional security areas. And we are very good in it, and we are willing to make contribution. And Taiwan is also a very prosperous country, and we want to make contributions to this part of the world so that the whole Indo-Pacific can benefit from Taiwan's economic engagement.
That's right.
So this is what we want.
Well, Dr. Joseph Wu, we are only hoping and wishing the best to Taiwan, and seeing the kind of relationship that's growing between India and Taiwan with the kind of tweets that we see from the president of Taiwan, from the Taj Mahal to Indian food that she's been tweeting about. It just goes to show that we are moving from one place of great ties to another, and we're only hoping that it only grows. Dr. Joseph Wu, Foreign Minister of the Republic of China, Taiwan, speaking exclusively to India today. Many thanks for joining us here on the channel.
Thank you very much. And I would like to say that we want to thank the audience in India for showing support for Taiwan. And for me personally, India always have a very special place in my heart. And we hope that Taiwan and Indian relations can improve further. Thank you very much for this opportunity.